Welcome to another video, the One Good Road here. It's been a while since I've done a video and I wanted to share my opinion on a bunch of equipment that I've been using here in the Pyrenees. This is from a company called Forclaz. This is one of their hiking boots and I wanted to share my overall opinion of using this for around 150 to 200 kilometers of hiking. I've had it since the December 2021. And I've noticed that there's not a lot of reviews on this specific pair of hiking boots from Decathlon, well, especially in English. So I thought I would make one in English for you guys. And I've also made some other videos recently. One of them's in French, if that interests you. But anyway, I know I've got mainly an English audience. So let's jump into these shoes. Why did I buy them? Essentially, my old pair, this is the new pair, and my old pair are these ones here. And you can see they were starting to get a little bit worn. In fact, they are really worn. I've used these for hundreds of kilometers. I'm not sure how many. It could be around at least 200 to 300 kilometers of hiking here in the Pyrenees. And it was about time that I changed them, of course. And I still use them, actually, believe it or not. But anyway, those are my old pair, and these are the new pair. Now, before this pair over here, I also had another pair, which was, what is it called? The SH520X Warm. They were basically a pair of snow boots that had this warm lining in them. And essentially, what happens with my shoes is that they tend to fail when you flex them. So when we're flexing here, I mean, these are really stiff. I'm flexing them pretty hard and they're not bending over there, as you can see. So you can see I'm pushing pretty hard on that. It's not flexing, which is good. It's got a stiff sole. My other shoes normally fail around there. So my other shoes failed around there, and Decathlon, when I was in the store, they said, look, you hike a lot, you probably need a pair of boots that is longer lasting, more durable, and they were right. So although you can buy, a pair of shoes like these, and they work for a certain amount of time, they're not designed to last a long time. They're just like daily shoes for just walking in the forest and walking around your farm or something like that. These ones on a special offer because they were occasion, meaning seconde vie, meaning second life. So they're used. These were used by somebody for a small amount of time, not very long. And I decided that it would be totally worth it to get them. So I got them on a really heavy discount, which I was very happy about. And I'll get into the full price, because the full price, honestly, I question, is it worth the money for the full price? And I'll get into that in a minute. So let's talk about, that's the story why I bought them. I bought them because I wanted a longer lasting pair of hiking boots, and I definitely hike well enough to invest in, I hike well enough to invest in a good pair of hiking boots. So let's go through the specification. It says on their website the reason that they made these shoes was to create a fairly lightweight pair of long, durable, long-lasting, waterproof boots. So I'll get into why you might want to consider when you're hiking in summer that these are pretty warm, but I'll get into that in a minute. So let's talk about the weight. The weight, it says on the website, is around 1.2 kilos for both. So they're 630 grams each. I've probably lost a bit of weight on these over the last, I think I've had these for like more than 6 months now, because I've had them in summer and I had them at the beginning of winter last year. So that's how long I've had them for. I've hiked around, to be exact, probably 180 kilometers. Roughly, let's say 180 to 200 kilometers of hiking in these. I've taken them backpacking. I've used them for day trips. And there's pros and cons to these shoes. They're not like the be-all, end-all. It really depends. If you want to save money, you can definitely get a lot of money out of these shoes. And I would say they're very comparable to the Salomons that you get. So I think they're trying to compete against that market with this type of shoe, to be honest. Let's talk about, so we've talked about the weight, which is pretty important. We talked about how long I've walked in them for and how long I've had them for. They say waterproof on the side here, right? So that's one of the big selling features, is that you want to have a shoe that is impermeable to water. Now, these shoes are hands down the best shoes I've ever used for being fairly breathable and waterproof at the same time. They are so good. I've walked through loads of boggy, I've probably got some footage, but I've walked through loads of bogged up water like this, going through streams, no issues. I've gone several days in a row. Eventually, the fabric will start to gather a lot of water, and you will need to leave them to dry for some period of time. Like if you leave them outside your tent and there's still a lot of dew on the ground, they're not going to dry. You know, you still need them to dry because it's a fabric that seems to collect water over a certain period of time. That being said, it's also extremely resistant, and even when they are fairly wet, which happens after a certain period of time, after several days of being in the rain, you're still going to be warm. They're still warm boots. So I've walked in the snow with these, and they're also really, really good. You don't need anything else with them. They totally resist the snow all the way up to the high top. The high top protects your ankle really well. They're very sturdy. In the snow, they were really good, like extremely good, in fact. No complaints with that. You can put micro spikes on the outside. I'm not sure about crampons. They don't seem to be like designed for crampons, but I'm sure you could put them on there. I've used them, I think, with micro spikes, or you can use them with micro spikes, and they're just fine. Make sure you get the right size. I bought a size that barely just fit me. I think these are 42 European size. That's about a 9 in the US. And they're pretty good. But they did need some time to, as they say, break in. Like, you need to spend some time walking in them so that they feel more comfortable. That's something I would highly recommend. You invest the first week or two walking in them fairly intensely and using them to really break them in, because they weren't that comfortable in the beginning. They were really tight, and you know, the inside here was kind of catching on my ankle and the inside. After a while, let's say 2 weeks, it started to become very comfortable, and now they are totally molded to my feet. They're very, very comfortable now, and they're still going strong. I will talk about the tread. Maybe I should talk about it right now. The tread on them is, I guess it's starting to wear a little bit. If you can see that, I'll bring the camera closer. They're from Vibram. I think there's still plenty of tread left in it. You can see that they're really thick. But this part is starting to get a little bit worn, and I've heard what you can do is maybe you can sand them a little bit just to give them a bit more grip. If I'm walking on wet rocks, it's a little bit slippery, but they're still pretty good. Especially in dry conditions, there's no complaints. They're still pretty good. I think I still got another couple years on the tread, to be honest. Let's talk about the fabric here. The fabric is where's the mark here is here. You can barely make out that it says Matryx here. Matryx is the company name. I believe they're based in France and probably partly in China. But it's a special fabric that's a polyester fabric of some kind, very, very tightly interweaved, and it's very durable. It's extremely durable. I've done plenty of flexes here, and the fabric is still fine. I don't know how many thousands of flexes I've done, but you can imagine it's quite a lot when you're going over big rocks and such, and it's still going good. So the fabric is really long lasting and durable. This is the brand name. They say they're designed and tested in the Mont Blanc Valley, so probably around Chamonix. There seems to be like yeah, the lace seems to go around the back here through this rubber, and then it connects here. So when you're tightening up, you're actually bringing in the entire boot, if you can see that, towards your heel. Again, after 2 weeks, they became very comfortable. In the first 2 weeks, not so comfortable, I have to admit. So yeah, you can see I'm starting to wear these out. The label's starting to come off here. This is within about 6 to 7 months of usage. Again, about 180 kilometers of hiking. Inside, you have these which come with it, like the insoles, and they're very breathable. They dry really fast, and they're very comfortable. You could replace these with any kind of insole you would like to raise it or decrease it. I think they're great. You leave them out to dry like this overnight. You can see that, and they're great. They're really, really good. I love the way that the back handle here is like really nice and sturdy. Everything about the shoe is very sturdy. I love that with the quality of this shoe. Again, I think it's one of the highest quality shoes I've seen from Decathlon. There is also no leather with this product, so it's fairly eco-friendly. The color dye is also eco-friendly. The lacing is really, really good and durable. You could easily replace it if you don't like their lacing. That's pretty much it when it comes to the material. I'm very happy with the material. They're very waterproof. Very waterproof. They're extremely waterproof. And after a while, they became more comfortable. They are very rigid. Let's talk about some of the... So those are most of the pros. The cons, I would say, they're not the lightest pair of shoes, obviously. When you're buying boots, you could still go with trainers, and they would still be lighter by about 500 grams. They're fairly breathable, but again, in summertime, I took these to the Mediterranean, and I wanted to try what would it be like to walk in like 30 to 35 degrees in the heat of the Mediterranean. And my foot was like inside a cooker. It was like completely sweaty, didn't breathe very well. So if you really push it to the limit and you're in 35 degrees heat, these shoes are not good for that. They're really good for winter. They're good around the 20-degree mark. They breathe fairly well in 20 degrees. Anything above that, they're not designed for that. You know, they're designed to keep moisture out. It's very hard for it to let it go through. Again, if you take your shoes off and you let them dry in the sun, like I do, I let them dry on a rock or something, and eventually they will dry. The reviews I've noticed on the website are fairly mixed with these shoes. I've noticed that. I think that's probably a cause to the price. Now the price sits around right now on the website at $150 or 160 euros. I think that is pretty overpriced for what they are. I know they're trying to get into that higher market, but honestly, these shoes are very comparable to other shoes which you can get for around 100 to 120 US dollars, you know. If it were me, I would say these shoes are worth about a 90 pounds brand new, like straight retail price, you know. Used, a little bit less, maybe 80 euros, or sorry, 80 pounds, let's say. But that being said, I still think they're super high quality. You're not buying a shoe that's bad, for sure. It's a little bit overpriced, I would say, just a little. If they brought down the price by, 20 to 40 euros, I think more people will be interested in this shoe. As of now, it's a little bit overpriced, I would say. Again, they're very high quality. It's just something you want to consider. Again, they're really good for mountaineering. Not really necessary to buy these if you're wanting to just do the Compostela. I wouldn't buy these shoes. If you're doing the Compostela, you better stick with trainers. These are really good mountain alpine shoes. They're just below the kind of alpine shoes that you would use with crampons. They're just kind of below that range, and they're extremely high quality. I use these in the Pyrenees, and they're really, really good. They suit my needs really, really well. Would I buy them again? Well, I'd be kind of curious to see what they're going to do in the future. If they would make a shoe that's maybe slightly less on the price, and possibly breathing slightly better would be nice. But again, these shoes are completely waterproof. I'm very happy with them. You're not going to get more waterproof than something like this, of course. This is just a standard welly or a gum boot, or waterproofs. Like, you're not going to get more waterproof than that. But this doesn't breathe. This does. Definitely does breathe a lot more. And they're black, so they dry pretty quickly in the sun. And I like the design. I really love this orange-black accent. It really matches with their color scheme of their ultra lightweight gear, from the tent and the cooking gear and all that sort of stuff. I want to make some reviews on the tent, because I've used their Forclaz tent much more now. But this is just a first in the series of having a look at their Forclaz hiking boots, and I think it's going in a good direction. I'd like to see what other products they're going to make. For me, it's very convenient that Forclaz, the company, is just down the road, or actually Decathlon is really not that far from me. It's like a 30-minute drive or a couple hours by bike. And I love that. It's very, very useful. You get warranties at Decathlon, and it's very local. You can look in the store if you want to have a look at this. And they've got a website as well. I do find that their company is starting to grow quite rapidly. They're really worldwide, so I'd like it to be a little bit more local feeling. At the moment, it feels a bit industrial. And, you know, they've got to really kind of connect with the locals on a local level, which I know they're trying, but it still feels very industrial, you know. Anyway, that is a look at these shoes. If you have any other questions about them, ask me, leave questions. And honestly, these are the highest price shoes I've ever owned, and I think they are pretty good. They tick a lot of boxes for me. I'm quite happy with them. And they are a hell of a lot better than these Quechua, for sure. Like, you can see the difference. Like, I've really almost destroyed these. The sole is starting to come off. The fabric is starting to wear down. The back of the sole is breaking. Just for a comparison. And also, you know, the fabric here fails around this point. That's usually what happens on most shoes. And these are definitely going to last longer. Stay subscribed to see if this will go any further, if it will last any longer. Anyway, that is a full in-depth review at this pair of shoes, for these hiking boots for backpacking. If you have any other questions, leave them down below, and stay tuned for the other product reviews I'd like to do, where I'm doing very honest reviews on gear for outdoor use. So that's it.